an elitist, and she doesn't care about what we have to go through, so she can go to the salon whenever she wants to. She doesn't have to wear a mask, Bob. So it exposes her hypocrisy. As far as, what the president has done, I mean, I think he's got limits to what his executive orders can accomplish, and Congress has not passed any sort of coronavirus package. So I think we're all in limbo until Congress acts, and I don't think they're going to be acting, for maybe another week or so, if not longer, because at least some of them right now are on recess, if you can believe it, another vacation. But all they do in Congress, and Bob, we got to roll, but thank you. All they do is just take vacations and waste our money. All right, thank you, my friend. Folks, have a great day. Our America's Voice viewers, we'll see you tomorrow.
Well, the virus has now killed more than 100 people in China, and new cases have been confirmed around the world.
So you don't want to frighten the American public.
France and South Korea have also got evacuation plans.
But you need to prepare for and assume.
Strongly warning Americans to avoid all non-essential travel to China.
That this is going to be a real serious problem.
France, Australia, Canada, the US, Singapore, Cambodia, Vietnam, the list goes on.
Health officials are investigating more than 100 possible cases in the US.
Germany, a man has contracted the virus.
The epidemic is a demon, and we cannot let this demon hide.
Japan, where a bus driver contracted the virus.
Coronavirus has killed more than 100 people there and infected more than 4,500.
We have to prepare for the worst, always, because if you don't and the worst happens.
War Room Pandemic. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
I'm a nurse, and I've been a nurse for 27 years. And the response to the pandemic has actually been President Trump's greatest achievement. He was the one that closed off all travel at the beginning of February. Do you guys remember what was happening in January? There were no other elected officials that were even thinking about COVID because they were busy doing their impeachment. Joe Biden, he was the vice president for 8 years. So why didn't they prepare for a pandemic?
On your ballots, if you get the unsolicited ballots, send it in and then go make sure it counted. And if it doesn't tabulate, you vote. You just vote. And then if they tabulate it very late, which they shouldn't be doing, they'll see you voted, and so it won't count. So send it in early, and then go and vote. And if it's not tabulated, you vote, and the vote is going to count. You can't let them take your vote away. These people are playing dirty politics. Dirty politics. So if you have an absentee ballot, or as I call it, a solicited ballot, you send it in. But I would check it in any event. I would go and follow it and go vote.
As I call it, a solicited ballot. Somebody is getting up the learning curve live from the nation's capital. It's War Room Pandemic. You're in the War Room, episode 367 now with over 13.5 million downloads. Plus, we're on the John Fredericks Radio Network. That is the network of the deplorables, and now the network of Lao Beijing. Old 100 names. America's Voice.News channel, Dish Channel 219. In the team down at Newsmax TV, now in 70 million homes. Chris Ruddy in the team, plus G News, GTV. Big team effort today. You're going to say we're going everywhere. We're going to discuss Peter Navarro, the hit job on Peter Navarro. We're going to the new hit job coming out of China on Mike Pompeo. An epic film by Glenn Beck and Peter Schweitzer on Joe Biden's financial ties to the Chinese Communist Party. We're going to talk about Kanye West, economic nationalism for the black community, the African-American community, how it could be a game changer in 2020. But we're going to start with, and the most important thing is Raheem. Can we take that? We get more clips? Maybe we get more cuts, so I'll keep my headset on. Plus, I wouldn't have washed my hair. I would have, done the big blowout if I knew we were going to have this today.
You washed your hair?
Yeah, no, it's unbelievable. Once every 6 months, whether you need it or not. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, as we said, we've talked about this now for, I guess, a month and a half. Yep. Okay? Because we knew this day was coming. Donald J. Trump is going to be reelected the President of the United States. Remember, I'm the first guy I told him to metaphysical certitude back in mid-August of 2016, where he's going to be reelected President of the United States if you do your job out there in the audience, right? Get people out to vote, get yourself out to vote, own your vote. Now, the question before us, is he going to be inaugurated for his second term on the 20th of January, the year of our Lord 2021, right? Today is what, we're at 4 September today?
Third.
Still third?
Still the third.
Still the third, 3 September,
All day.
year of our Lord 2020, all day. That magnificent open yesterday with AVN on the 75th commemoration. Just incredible. We have before us, ladies and gentlemen, the forces of, let's say, not the patriots of America that are coming to essentially understanding they can't get the American people to vote for their program. They're going to now try to take the presidency. And this one, I've been telling people this for months and months and months. Don't think the evening of November 3rd, that's just going to be it's going to be a big night. It's a very important mile marker. But this is going to continue on and on and on. Now they've got a nullification project that is 10x because they've been planning and plotting this for a long time. And it's all out there. No conspiracies, but no coincidences, okay? The fight starting on the evening of the 3rd, and it'll actually rev up much before that, is going to be historic. As the folks at the Transition Integrity Project, remember transition, that's a subtext of Trump loses, so they're transitioning to a new administration. The Transition Integrity Project lays out that this is the way that, in Hawkfish, their data guys, Hawkfish, to gaslight everybody, comes out on Axios, right? With the Axios guys the other night and says, oh, yeah, way the numbers look now, Trump it could win in a landslide, 400 electoral votes on election night, but that's not really the vote because of the pandemic, and you're hearing War Room pandemic, because of the pandemic, right? These other votes have got to be counted. They're going to be counted, and in 2 weeks, Joe Biden will win. And now we see all the forces coming together. Their media forces, the social media forces. And it's interesting. They're in full meltdown right now and triggered, not just because we've outed them on this project, and you're now outed. And you should understand that there is a massively organized effort to counter you and to make sure that Donald J. Trump, when he wins his reelection late in the evening of the 3rd of November, the year of our Lord 2020, I think in 60 days, that he will also be inaugurated on the 20th of January for his second term. You are going to be beaten. You're going to be beaten at the polls, and then you're going to be beaten in every other way. Defeated. Not physically beaten. We don't need that because we can beat you in other ways, and we are going to beat you. I really want to give a hat tip to Raheem Kassam and the team at National Pulse, other places like Revolver, this whole new, people have to get off Drudge. You got to uncouple. You got to decouple. If anybody hasn't read the new Drudge biography, you ought to read the new Drudge biography, the unauthorized Drudge biography. You ought to get the author in here to see exactly what kind of guy Matt Drudge is. And Matt Drudge ought to understand who's got the film rights to that. The only thing you'll ever be remembered by is the film. And the book's got so many salacious. Anyway, let's just put that out there, and Ethan, put a duly note that, okay? The only thing you'll be remembered by is the film. The only thing. I want to go now to Raheem Kassam because I want you to step back. You were on John Frederick this morning. Everybody, hashtag War and Pandemic. The live stream. The people throughout the day on Facebook to see this. The people late at night at Newsmax. This is now coming together as the most important part of your life, and here's why. There's only one way this comes together. It's on the shoulders of the deplorables. This is now your call to action. People have always asked, what can I do? I want to do stuff. I just want to. Okay, we're not here. We're not talk radio, and we're not cable news. That's people do that and they do it so well. That's not us. We've never done that because it's just not what we do and it's not our talent base, right? We're a war room, and that's what we are. And so now we are a node, one node of many, but they're nodes now coming together to form what is called a critical mass. And that critical mass is going to a rapid deployment force, right? You're going to be like the expeditionary force, and that is both for voter registration, for your own vote, for becoming a poll watcher, becoming an election official. There's something everybody in this audience, everybody, has to do something. If you don't do something, then you were not serious about this in the first place. So you have to do something. And this is going to be, it is not going to be pleasant, and it's not going to be pretty, right? And that's because you can look at Portland, you can look at Kenosha, you can look at what happened in D.C. last night, right? Fear is one of the things that they try to instill in you, right? So with that, I want to turn it over. Raheem, you've done such an amazing job on the John Fredericks radio show today. I talked to John yesterday. I thought he needed to have you on, and you lit the place up. I think this was like the time I did the interview with the impeachment, although this is 100 times more important. Even on the impeachment, when I said that, I knew he couldn't be removed by this. He hadn't done anything. I knew that was just all going to be theater, but we had to get organized, right? So that's why we started the show over a weekend. This is actually a greater and more important call to action. So I want to pull the camera back, right? And I want if you're an audience member on hashtag War on Pandemic or in the live stream, be popping us with questions. We've got a team here that's going to verify, although we got guys pulling stuff like crazy since this thing is moving. I want to thank the Daily Mail for giving War Room, the podcast, a shout out right today in their article about President Trump, where President Trump said, "Hey, guess what? If I'm a winner on the November 3rd, tough break, tough luck," right? That's got their, and they are in full meltdown. Okay, so Mr. Raheem Kassam, I'm going to turn it over to you and the great work you've been doing. The president's like all over your Twitter feed, right? You're like the retweet champion right now.
Just a fan site now.
Just a fan site. Okay, Raheem, walk us through. Pull the camera back. You're the first guy that got into this 2 months ago.
Yeah.
Told me that, hey, I see what's happening here now, right? So take your time and walk there.
Yeah, because we've seen it in Europe before. We've seen it.
These are called color revolutions.
So there's all these different types of things. Color revolution is one of the things that they're using the strategy, the playbook of to do this. There was, I think it was Joseph Nye, I think, used to come up with a lot of these playbooks of how to instill a more sort of one man, one vote mass democracy type movements around the world. And of course, in the United Kingdom, we've seen the mass movement against Brexit, all the lawfare action that was taking place. So I just took I took the camera back myself in all those moments and started to look at where.
And you've been in the Ukraine.
breadcrumbs.
You've been in the Ukraine in 2013. This is all part of the impeachment thing. It's all one continuous thing.
It
right?
is.
You were there for the modern revolution. You've seen this.
And I think that's very important, actually, that people understand that these aren't separate events and these aren't separate coups. This is just one long planned march through the Republic, and it is through the Republic. And we'll get into that, and I want to get into it with more constitutional scholars, people who understand this better than I do. But I'm looking at this from the lens of media, through the lens of the color revolutions, and through the lens of the actual election and what it takes to be elected, technically be elected. Now, it was literally a month ago today that we first popped the story, and these things sometimes take a couple of weeks to put together, take a couple of hours and days to go through and to set up right and to change the graphics of and the headlines of and make sure the story is structured correctly. So we had this story a little bit earlier, but we popped it on August the 3rd. And August the 3rd, we talked about this transition integrity project. I remember saying at the time, I tweeted at the time on the day, I said, guys, there is a Soros-linked, Bill Gates-linked, CCP-linked organization out there that is wargaming on how Biden could seize power even if Trump wins. And I remember some of the people in response to my tweet were like, you jumped the shark here. You put too many enemies in one headline. It doesn't...
You get multiple tinfoil hats on.
Right. But of course, my reporting has borne out, and I've been proved correct in this whole thing. Now, what is this whole thing? So there are several elements of this, and one of the big elements of this is this Transition Integrity Project. Now, we've actually got more reporting on the Transition Integrity Project that'll be coming out later today, specifically going back to WikiLeaks, and some of the documents that we've pulled back from those WikiLeaks emails will tell us more about who the Transition Integrity Project is and what their links are in the past and who they're linked to. So that will be on the National Pulse later on today. But effectively, what they've done is they've put together a board of people, a couple of dozen people actively at worst, and for them, about 80 at best of tangential members of this organization. They're founded by a board member of George Soros' Open Society Foundation and a vice president of the Chinese Communist Party-linked Berggruen Institute. Now, there's a lot more to go through. I know we're up against the clock
Nick
here.
Berggruen's one of the worst guys in the world. That's a Bond villain right there.
Yeah, and I know we got a break here, Steve.
Let's take a short break. We're gonna get back on to all of this. This is it's a tutorial from Raheem Kassam. # War Room Pandemic. Live stream on here. We'll take a short break. We'll be back with stealing an election next.
Brett Favre, legendary quarterback. Jerry Rice, legendary wide receiver.
You ready for your weekly meeting?
Yeah, we're ready.
Let's do this. They stack the deck.
When legends play, they wear Copperfit Advanced Back Pro. Copperfit's best-selling compression back support just got better with new double-band adjustable supports for customizable compression when you need it most.
Since I put this on, I feel so much better. The core is the most important thing. To know that I'm stabilized here. Whatever I'm doing, I can give it 100%.
4 built-in stabilizing supports designed to improve posture and help reduce lower back stress and strain.
You have back pain, and it's affecting your everyday life. You do something.
If you can find something to help you get back out and be active like Copperfit, go for it.
Absolutely.
Do not give up.
A high-performance compression fabric infused with the powerful properties of copper, 360-degree flexible mobility, and lightweight, durable construction.
Nothing more painful than having back pains. If you're aching, if you feel like you can't work out anymore, you can. And that's with Copperfit.
Yeah. It's for all of us who still want to be active, still want to compete.
Way to go. That's what I'm talking about. Man, this really does feel good. It feels to me like the fountain of youth.
Copperfit's best-selling back support just got bigger, badder, and better. Or call 1-800-944-5851. Or on the web at advancedbackpro.com. Get yours now for only $19.99.
This does feel good.
That's what I've been saying.
You think it was fair?
It was fun.
Play for the love of the game.
Copperfit, live limitless.
These are our classes, our happy hours, our dates, our birthday parties, our shopping. We are learning new things.
Nice technique with that knife.
And getting in touch with things we left behind. These are our lives now. Come be a part of it online. GoDaddy is making it possible for everyone to create a website for free. Learn more at GoDaddy.com.
This is Kate.
Hey.
She takes 2 prescriptions. Kate's son Jack takes 1 too. Kate works hard and thought she had good insurance. But she still pays too much. That's no good. So Kate downloaded the GoodRx app. Now she can compare prescription prices to find the best discounts. She even beats her insurance price. Good for you, Kate. Good for you. GoodRx. Stop paying too much for your prescriptions. Download the free app today.
War Room Pandemic with Stephen K. Bannon.
The epidemic is a demon, and we cannot let this demon hide.
War Room Pandemic. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
He can't come back to New York. He can't. He's going to walk down the street in New York. Forget bodyguards. He better have an army if he thinks he's going to walk down the street in New York.
From the point of view of New York City, this has been the worst president in history. Look, the best thing he did for New York City was leave. Good riddance. Let him go to Florida. Be careful careful not to get COVID.
It's the 3rd of September, the year of our Lord 2020. You're in the war room. Would President Xi and General Secretary Xi in China have a regional, the guy in Hubei province, say that? That was as over the top. And the reason we want to start with Governor Cuomo's voice is to show you how they're in meltdown, right? That's a governor of one of the biggest states in the union, right? It's unbelievable.
Well, if a regular citizen had said something like that on air, I think the Secret Service would probably be knocking on his door.
It's just unbelievable. I mean, the trigger. By the way, Governor Cuomo, when he said the best thing he did, I didn't remember you saying that in March when he was sending up the hospital ship. They were building the field hospitals. He was doing everything that he could do in his power, right? In his power to support you as governor of New York. And then, it wasn't President Trump, as I'm sure a board of inquiry is going to show. It wasn't President Trump that didn't think about the targeted interventions at the nursing homes, right? All that's going to come out, Governor. So I don't remember you saying at the time that, but that kind of language. He can't walk the streets in New York. He's the president of the United States, right? I mean, this is just it. But it shows you. We want to do that to show you. This is the 3rd of September. We got 2 months to go. You haven't even seen the crazy yet. Jack, you just got breaking news. So we're going to get back to him. You got breaking news out of Pennsylvania on a latest poll in Pennsylvania.
Rasmussen is reporting that they are tied 46-46. Now, the buried lead in this is that Donald Trump's voters have way more enthusiasm, and I just see this getting worse and worse for the Democrats, and this is why they're having the meltdown, Steve.
This is the we're going to get into this. We got Van Jones. We're going to play clips from him in the next segment. This shows you, I think at one time, not on Rasmussen's poll, but I think at one time Trump was down 12 points in Pennsylvania. And more importantly, Biden was at 50, which is not a good number to if you're running against him to be at. Now it's 46-46 according to Rasmussen.
I grew up in Pennsylvania. It's a big union state. But what I will say about your average Pennsylvanian, they're all hardcore kind of like deer hunters and they have all the values that we think of in the deplorables.
Well, law and order.
Right, and I can tell you right now, if the default is the American flag and our way of life for voting for the Democrats, they are going to vote for Donald J. Trump.
Tell me about gun sales. You got some stats on gun sales in the nation.
Gun sales around the nation. We're in the 7th month of record sales. This, I think, is an indication of the kind of caution that is in the air. I mean, people are preparing for something. And now the worst part of it is we see the Democrats encouraging this violence. Yet every day, right, we watch on CNN, MSNBC, they say Donald Trump's rhetoric is elevating violence in the streets. We just heard the mayor of New York City. He sounds like the mayor of Charleston in 1861 before they about to fire on Fort Sumter.
Enemies of the state.
Enemies of the state. Let's go back to, okay, Raheem, you're walking us through this, that the President Trump, now that things are, the tide is shifting. In politics is all about momentum and timing. The tide is shifting, and President Trump, I think, is hurtling towards a victory on the 3rd of November. Right now, the forces that are right against him, right, and they're significant. It's the Party of Davos. It's the Chinese Communist Party. It's the financial community. It's the permanent political class and this kind of radical billionaire class, right? They're all together. That's not. I don't have a tinfoil hat on. That's all out there in plain sight. There's nothing shy about it. You had Facebook today, but go back and start taking it back. This is what the show is going to be. Parts of it. We're going to talk about the pandemic because, look, this is triggered by the pandemic. That's why we've been talking about this mail-in vote. Otherwise, you just show up on November 3rd, cast your vote, and let's go on with it. It's because some of the uncertainty regarding the pandemic. I think the Democrats overplayed their hand. Now they're freaked that they're not going to have enough people actually show up to vote. Yeah. Raheem Kassam.
Well, I just want to play off that for a second. Two things. One of Jackson, one of what you just said. Firstly, look, we've got street violence. We've got corporate-backed totalitarian political philosophies now, and you've got the apparatus of the state, whether you're going to call it deep state, the in-your-face state. It's the administrative state. Back in the day, we had a word for that. It was called fascism. I mean, that was the actual way that fascism took and held control. You need corporate, you need street violence and intimidation, and you need the apparatus of the administrative state. And when you go through a lot of these Transition Integrity Project documents, What they're actually talking about is norms. They keep talking about norms, but they're the ones challenging the norms. Oh, you remember getting your news of who's president on election night? No more election night for you. You remember going to the polls? No more polls for you. You remember the Electoral College? We don't want the Electoral College to decide who the next president is. They say that in the document. And I've promised to get the audience this document with my annotations for several days now. I'm still working through it. There's still bombshell after bombshell that we're discovering.
They're bombshells. I mean, and the Vox does an interview with some of the participants, which we're going to get up, I think is quite brilliant. And then I think a Boston radio station did a podcast.
Yes.
But if you read it, look, this is from their voices. This is not the War Room saying anything. You got to read these interviews. You have to listen to this with your own ears. Yeah. I mean, in Vox, they kind of come down to the point that one of the most startling comments I've ever seen, they said this is going to come down to, on the evening of the 3rd, Lachlan and Rupert Murdoch doing the right thing, and Zuckerberg.
Right.
Right? That not calling that he won. Right? They have to, in fact, and then they have this guy, Colonel Wilkinson, I think it is. Wilkerson, who's Colin Powell's old chief of staff. And we're going to try to track down Colonel Wilkinson and get him on the War Room, or actually get him in here, because stuff he's saying is absolutely stunning. He said, he's quoted in there on the Boston thing saying the media can't be part of the coup. The media has to basically not call this, and not calling it, let it play out over the next couple of weeks, where it's going to be, thrown into the courts, thrown into the. So remember, there's 3 phases. We're going to go through these phases in the days and weeks ahead. Number 1, what is the mantra here at the War Room? Own your vote. Own your vote. As Bill McGinley has told us, own your vote. Make sure that your vote is that you vote, or if you're going to do it by absentee, make sure you're all registered, is done, and make sure it gets in. Own your vote, number 1. Number 2 is secure the vote. And number 3 is count the vote. We're going to go through those in a lot of detail in the days and weeks ahead. It's a triage, 3-step process. Own your vote. Then we'll walk through later. Secure the vote. Then we're going to walk through count the vote. If those 3 are all done appropriately, Donald J. Trump, no problem, will be reelected, right? The 45th president of the United States will be reelected. So Raheem, I want to go back to you. You're the first one to actually warn how serious this was going to be, and it's every bit. They believe right now they're scared to death with the economic numbers, with elements of the black community not being excited, finally realizing they've been played. The Hispanic working class community understanding that this is a striver's economy, as Steve Cortez says it. Everything's cutting against them, and the cipher of Biden didn't work. The theory that they had at their convention, orange man bad, is not working. Right? People want to see granularity. It's not working. So they have another tool, and they have other tools in the toolbox, right? And the other tools in the toolbox is if they can't win it legitimately, right, on November 3rd of the year of our Lord 2020, they're going to fight and obfuscate and have a media narrative and have all this and go into courts and have confusion like you've never seen before. And to show the world that, and she's sitting there and backing this thing up, saying they love it. The Chinese Communist Party loves it. Hey, America's so great, this democracy, look at these people. They're each other's throat. They're about in a civil war. Our totalitarian model may not be perfect, but it's better than that Pakistan. It's better than that Iran. It's better than that Turkey. It's better than that Russia. Hey, why don't we all get together and control the Eurasian landmass, right? And let these democracies like India and the United States, let them turn on each other. Right, and maybe we'll nudge that. Maybe we'll nudge that through the Berggruen Institute and other open border societies. Maybe we'll just nudge that along. So, Raheem, I'll take my tinfoil hat off for a second. It's all out there in the open, ladies and gentlemen. It's not conspiracy. It's all out there in front. And now you see today they're hitting the thing of Washington Post. They got op-ed. Trump's going to steal the election. Yeah. That's what I love. He's not only commander in chief. He's not only the senior chief executive of the administration, the chief law enforcement officer. He's also the chief troll.
Well, he knows how to ram the message down their throats. This is their message, remember. All he's doing is holding up a mirror to them and letting the American public see what's in the mirror as well. And I want to come back to something that Jack said about the polling, the breaking news on the polling. Okay, so on the John Frederick show this morning, I described what we're seeing now as the Democrats hitting the panic button. They would have preferred to keep this whole narrative in their pockets for right before the election. but they saw in the back of the DNC, they're seeing the polling as a result of all this street violence, and they're seeing now in the swing states that they're losing ground, and they know the polls are stacked in their favor, and by that I mean the weighting of who gets surveyed for these polls. So they know when it says they're up by 5 points, they're probably down by 1 or 2.
Yes.
So they hit the panic button. In the United States, you have the October surprise, right? And that's just a form of panic button. But this is them hitting the panic button. All these op-eds that have suddenly come out, all these interviews that are suddenly going out. I told you yesterday, or was it the day before, that the Wikipedia entry for the Transition Integrity Project suddenly pops up, and it's perfectly curated, like more beautifully manicured than Nancy Pelosi in a salon, right? It's the most perfect Wikipedia entry I've ever seen. And somebody's just popped that up to give this organization legitimacy. Jack.
Want to hear something that's really, I'm reading it now. This just broke a few minutes ago. This poll just came out, but this one is beautiful. 49% have a favorable view of the president, while 50% share an unfavorable view of him. Biden is seen favorably by 46% and unfavorably by 52%.
Wow. Bad news for the Biden camp. Bad news for Morning Joe. We're going to get all into it when we return. We got Kanye West, the voice of Kanye West, Don Lemon.
Do you have any idea how your mattress affects your body and how well you sleep? Is it too hard or too soft, causing you to wake up with sore shoulders, back, or hips? Are you uncomfortable because you're too hot or too cold? Now you can get the total body support you need and the better sleep you want with the new MyPillow mattress topper.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell. When I invented my new MyPillow mattress topper, I made it to have everything you'd ever want in a topper. My mattress topper helps give you the support you need, helps relieve your pressure points, and regulates your body temperature for you as an individual. It comes with a 10-year warranty. You can wash and dry the cover. It's made in the USA, and I back it with my 60-day money-back guarantee.
My Pillow Topper delivers on its promise to give me a better night's sleep.
Call now to get your very own MyPillow mattress topper. Use the promo code and Mike will give you 30% off and 2 standard MyPillows absolutely free. Order now.
I personally guarantee it's going to change your bed into the most comfortable bed you'll ever own.
Hi, Hunter Ellis here for Night Hero Binoculars by Atomic Beam. These binoculars let you see anything, even in pitch black darkness. Gotcha. The secrets are powerful wide-angle atomic beam laser that reveals objects up to 150 yards away, hidden by darkness. During the day, Night Hero gives you 10 times magnification. And when the sun goes down, press the Night Bright button to see clearly in the dark. Light up garbage-eating critters or spot thieves before they even get close. Call or click now and get Night Hero binoculars with laser illumination technology for just $39.99. You'll also get a protective carrying case, yours free. Order right now and you can double it. Plus, get our best-selling atomic beam flashlight, just pay separate fee. We'll even ship them to you free. You can get it all, but you have to order now.
Call 1-800-788-1008. That's 1-800-788-1008. Or visit bynighthero.com. That's bynighthero.com. Order now.
This is the kind of card that has America talking. With it, people with Medicare are getting all-in-one coverage for their doctor visits, hospital care, prescription drugs, and more. This kind of insurance, called Medicare Part C, may also cover dental care, eyeglasses, hearing aids, fitness programs, vitamins, even healthy meals and rides to the doctor. With this kind of coverage, you do not need a Medicare supplement insurance plan. You will access your benefits through your Medicare Part C plan for one low and oftentimes $0 monthly plan premium. You deserve to get the most from your Medicare benefits. Call now for free information that may help you get more coverage for less money. There is no obligation to enroll. Whether for yourself or someone you love, call the number on the screen now. Call now.
War Room Pandemic with Stephen K. Bannon.
The epidemic is a demon, and we cannot let this demon hide.
War Room Pandemic. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
Welcome back to the War Room. It is Thursday, September the 3rd, the year of our Lord 2020. We're broadcasting live from Capitol Hill, and we've been talking about this effort, this massive effort, as the Democrats hit the panic button after the DNC, after the violent riots, or rather during the violent riots that are taking place all across the country. Now they're seeing the polling all across the country showing them in trouble.
We said from the beginning, you can't have a plan that's orange man bad.
Right.
We have said this for months. Once you've got to come forward and be straightforward with the American people and walk them through the program. Walk through your program. The reason you're trying to hide your program. You're trying to hide your program and say, hey, it's a referendum on him, right? Well, maybe it is or maybe it's not. But the American people want to know what the alternative is. There's some certain people not crazy about Trump, and particularly not crazy about the House style, right? But they look at what you are embracing, and they don't want that. Destruction of the American economy, right? And destruction of the American way of life, right? Death of the American economy, destruction of the American way of life. They're not going to vote for that. They're not going to vote for that. You can't come and have your convention and just have orange man bad and now have a plan that's not a secret plan. As Raheem Kassam, that people at National Pulse have done, it is a in-your-face plan, right? In the great article today you've had on Facebook, Zuckerberg's up to his neck in this. The whole Facebook. This is that technology crowd that we've warned about. They're in business with CCP. They're globalists. They're the backbone, the tech backbone of the party of Davos. Mr. Raheem Kassam.
Well, and that's what I wanted to get to, is the breaking news about Facebook. Now, Mark Zuckerberg is stating this morning that Facebook will prohibit new political advertisements in the week before the U.S. presidential election in November. But the buried lead is, and seek to flag premature claims of victory by candidates. Now, that effectively means, and it goes back to this Vox article that you mentioned just before the break, that effectively means, and I said it yesterday, was the day before, I said, there will be no election night call. AP will not make a call. They said it on, I was listening to the POTUS radio channel on Sirius yesterday. They said that don't expect a call out of CNN on the night.
Understand, this is part of the plan.
They are setting it up.
This is September 3rd. On November 3rd, they will not call the presidency. Okay? This is Zuckerberg. This also, remember, they're doing this for legal reasons. Here's the real reason to do it is not the political ads in the run-up, because this is all going to be about get out the vote. You're going to need a political ad to tell you, oh, support Trump. By that time, you're going to make up your mind. It's about who do you get out to vote? Who's the electorate? Okay? What they're doing is for legal reasons to tell you we're not going to call this. Back to Colonel Wilkinson's. That it's got to be Lachlan and Rupert Murdoch and Zuckerberg have got to make a decision because that's the way the right will organize through the Fox air game and the Facebook ground game, right? But more importantly, you're going to see Facebook, and it was Darren Bain, these guys warned us about this 2 years ago, right? With the AI and knocking down everything on the right. Starting on the evening of November 3rd, they're not going to be they're not going to be allowed. They're going to pull back everything, so that you can't organize. That's why they're doing this. And so you're fighting blind. That's not going to happen because we're starting today are going to be working on alternatives for that. You're not going to be blind. You're going to be coordinated, organized, mobilized, everything. We're not going to allow that to happen. Mr. Raheem Kassam.
Yeah, and I just want to go back to this playbook that came out on August the 3rd. When we first popped their story about them is the day they popped their report as well, that they've been working on for months and months. But page 5 of this report is, quote, social media companies' policy and enforcement decisions will be consequential, and this merits further exploration and consideration. And they do. They say during the exercises, remember, they put together war games, exercises.
Four alternatives.
4 alternative situations, starring John Podesta and Michael Steele and Bill Kristol and Max Boot and all of these guys, all the Never Trumper crowd. And
But I want to go through the 4 alternatives because this is important for the audience to understand and embrace. In the 4 alternatives done by the Transition Integrity Project, you had 4 alternatives. 1, a Biden blowout.
Yep.
Okay? A Biden announcement on the 3rd, and trust me, if they have a blowout with Biden, they'll be announcing that on the 3rd. So a Biden blowout, number 1.
Well, I want to do it in the way they do it, in the order they do it.
Okay.
Because then otherwise we're going to get lost. So number 1, ambiguous result, right? Number 2, clear Biden blowout victory.
Yeah.
Number 3, clear Trump victory, and number 4, narrow Biden win.
Yeah, this is, and I think that's the wrong way to do it. Here's the way to do it. Here's the way to think about it. I'll correct the transition thing. Number 1 is Biden blowout. If they get a Biden blowout, they think they got game, set, match. Okay. Then you got 3 others. You've got a uncertain, ambiguous on that night, like 2000. Okay, you've got a slight Biden win. You've got a slight Trump win. There's no Trump blowout scenario there. Those three, and I quote from their project's report, chaos.
Right.
And I think in two of the situations, violence. Right. It is dystopian. But you got to read this. Brahim will get it up. He's been doing this thing. There's 4 scenarios: a Biden blowout, a slight Biden win, a totally ambiguous, and a slight Trump win. They don't put a Trump blowout in there.
They don't put a Trump blowout in there because they say that Trump can't win the popular vote. Yeah.
Then the popular vote will be something they'll be banging the drum on constantly. But even this is why I think, just connecting dots here, this is why Hawkfish, one of the data guys, came out the other day and said, "Oh, we missed a scenario. We missed a scenario. We should have had 5 scenarios. The 5th scenario would have been a Trump blowout on the evening of November 3rd. And guess what? That does not lead to victory. The other and their scenarios, ladies and gentlemen, none of these lead to a victory for Trump. They take it anyway. They either take it with actually how you vote or how they eventually secure and count the vote. And this is going to be the permutations of this are going to be quite complex.
Steve A. in the live chat says, "What about a Nancy Pelosi blowout?"
Yeah.
At the
Very
salon.
good. Very good. Very good.
I want to go back to the Facebook point real quick, because the Facebook thing has even broader ramifications than just what you see popping up on your Facebook newsfeed. Firstly, 190 users of Facebook in the United States, 68.1 million WhatsApp downloads and installs in the United States, and 107 million Instagram users in the United States. All Facebook owned, all Facebook technology. So is it going to get to the point because they talk about suppressing misinformation as it pertains to the victor of the election. Is it going to get to the point where they're suppressing WhatsApp messages and suppressing Instagram posts and suppressing your stories? All of that.
Without a doubt.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
Yes.
So this isn't just one small.
This is the problem
machine.
of the concentration of power in these tech companies.
Want to bring people's attention back to something that I reported on back in 2015 and 16. It's the Project for a New American Economy. It was the Rupert Murdoch-backed organization that is pro-open borders, pro-mass migration, and they make it very clear that they're in favor of big, cheap migrant labor. This was backed by all the big hotel firms and all of that. These were the guys behind Project for a New American Economy. Was sister organization of PNAE, they say themselves, is forward.us, FWD.us. And that is Mark Zuckerberg's pro-open borders mass migration organization. So if Vox is correct, and who you're quoting, by the way, from Vox is Niels Gilman, who's the guy involved with the Transition Integrity Project, he says this is going to come down to whether or not Fox and Zuckerberg call it for the president of the United States.
This is absolutely, and you got to read this interview. Look, this is from him. He's a smart guy. He with going through all the permutations, he said the most important thing, and why is that? Information warfare, right? They're going to hit this with lawfare. They already have these attorneys, and this is where you're seeing this is not something they thought up overnight. People have been wondering for years about the George Soros program, about putting in for these prosecutors, these DAs, and secretaries of state. Why has George Soros been putting all that money for years trying to get secretaries of state elected that are pro George Soros's open borders? Well, you're going to know when the vote starts to be secured and counted, right? You've got this is going to be lawfare, and it's going to be information warfare. In the interview, Gilman says, I think it's him it's quoted, not the woman who came up with the idea. I think it's him that's quoted. It says, this is going to come down to 3 people, Lachlan and Rupert Murdoch and Zuckerberg. You basically got to pull the plug on the conservative movement to be able to either coordinate with each other, talk with each other, or hear the observations and opinions of and get the news of Fox News. You know, you got to tell Tucker, you got to tell Hannity, you got to tell Laura, hey, here's and they actually say those guys are just mouthy. They'll do what the boss says.
I just want to quote from this, unless you ever. Yeah, let me just quote from this so people know exactly what you're saying. This is Niels Gilman, one of the organizers of this organization, the Transition Integrity Project. He says, quote, "There's going to be a crazy social media firestorm going on this, but my suspicion is that the decisive question will be, in the event of a Trump loss, what they're calling a Trump loss, how people like the evening lineup on Fox react. Do Hannity and Tucker Carlson and Laura Ingraham accept that he lost, or do they go with the crazy conspiracy theories as they're bubbling out of the fever swamps? Ultimately, it's not going to be them who decide. It's actually ultimately Lachlan and Rupert Murdoch who are going to decide. Those guys on the evening lineup check in with the boss. So the question really is, what will those senior leaders be willing to countenance? Likewise, what is Mark Zuckerberg going to be willing to countenance in terms of the propagation of the nonsense on Facebook? Right now, there hasn't been a lot of indication from either the Murdochs or Zuckerberg that they're willing to put any limits on what's going to be. So that's a deep concern. Now, that interview was given on August the 18th.
I think Zuckerberg's staff listened to that, and that's why you see today, and the National Pulse will have that up.
We've got it up.
So go back and tie it in right now to what Facebook did, what Facebook's done over the last couple of days, or what they announced today.
Yeah, I mean, they're effectively announcing that they are going to intervene.
And will not call it.
And will not call it. What Gilman said in that interview about his fear that Facebook is going to just basically stay neutral in that. No, they're not going to.
Right.
And here's the thing. Facebook is saying we're not going to allow any premature... But the Biden camp and the Biden people here have already told us they're not going to try and call a victory on November the 3rd. They're not going to try and abide by the norms of having an election night call, of having states even called on election night. So when they say premature, they are only and specifically talking about what we know as bang on time. You know? That's what Woody Allen said about premature, you know. Who's it premature for? It's bang on time for me. Yeah. And it's bang on time for America. It's always been, or at least in modern history, it's always been that you get an election night prediction. You will not see that as far as they're concerned.
Well, you also get it called. I mean, in 2016, we did it with Hillary Clinton.
Sure.
Came to us about AP. That's always been kind of the official, when AP calls it, right? It's coming right from the secretaries of state. It's coming right from the vote doesn't get certified till later, but it's enough. So this is going to be a fracas, Jack Maxey.
I wanted to go back to what we were talking about earlier and how some of these gun sales indicate a change in the streets. There's a very good article this morning came out in American Thinker, Growth in First-Time Gun Sales Has Election Implications. Now, what I find fascinating, in just the month of August, 650,000 first-time gun buyers bought weapons. So this means there are 650,000 people who, as they say, have skin in the game now on this debate about whether or not the Second Amendment has value in our culture. Now, here's something very interesting. 40% of the roughly 650,000 of these were first-time gun buyers, and 40% of the first-time gun buyers were women. And the rise in African-American purchases of weapons is up 58%. This means these people are probably not voting Democrat.
Do you think, well, we don't know. I don't know if they're voting Democrat or not, but I got to tell you, if you're buying a gun for the first time in today's time, you think you feel safe? No, you're going to go get a weapon, and then you're going to feel a lot safer. So whoever's voting for the side of safety may want to look at that 650. Okay, we're going to take a short commercial break. We've got so much to get through today. But every day from here on out, ladies and gentlemen, is going to be like that. We're not here to entertain you. We're here to inform you. Tomorrow's news today.
Stay tuned to get a free pan from Granite Stone. Stuck on eggs, burnt on batter. You can scrub and scrape, but you can't escape the nightmare of your sticky pans. Introducing the Granite Stone Pan, the all-new durable non-stick pan. No butter or oil needed. Watch, we melted down these sticky candies in Granite Stone, and it just doesn't stick. We cooked a half a dozen eggs, bacon, cheese, and tomato breakfast with no butter or oil, and it just doesn't stick. Look, caramels, chocolate, and cheese. Unreal for any other pan, but not for Granite Stone. It just doesn't stick. Granite Stone will be the last pan you'll ever need because it's pressed from a solid aluminum disc for even heat conduction, then coated 3 times with our durable Granite Stone finish. Granite Stone is metal utensil safe and won't scratch. And talk about non-stick. This salmon cooked skin side down with no added butter or oil just doesn't stick. This steak is perfectly seared just like the pros. And because Granite Stone is oven rated to 500 degrees, we bake this upside down pan pizza to perfection, and it just doesn't stick. Fire Flambe Delicious Cherries Jubilee. Plus, it's PFOA free and 100% dishwasher safe. Call or go online to get your Granite Stone Stone pan for the special TV discount price of just $19.99. Granite Stone is so durable it comes with a 10-year warranty. And with every order, you're going to get a Granite Stone single-serve egg pan absolutely free. It's the perfect size for personalized eggs, omelets, or frittatas that slide right out. It makes the best bacon, egg, and cheese sandwich quick. Yours absolutely free. We'll even ship your entire order free. That's right, free shipping. You get it all, an incredible value. Here's how to order.
To order, call 1-800-850-02.
War Room Pandemic with Stephen K. Bannon.
The epidemic is a demon, and we cannot let this demon hide.
War Room Pandemic. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
There's some harsh facts that deal with the black genocide that is abortion. And it's happening every day. And right now, God has given me the information, and he ain't gave me no other information other than this information. Right. And we have this right now. So that means he wants me to say this now. If God didn't want me to run on stage and say Beyonce had the best video, he would have sat me in the front row. I would have been sitting in the back. They wouldn't have made it the first award. And wouldn't have made it so ridiculous of an idea, because I had never heard of this person before. And this Single Ladies is like one of the greatest videos of all time.
So you spoke your mind. You spoke your truth.
I was only drinking Hennessy.
I was about to say you had a bottle of Hennessy.
Because I didn't want to go to the award show because it was a setup.
Right.
Now, okay, so now let's get to life. In 50 years, there's been 22 million, over 22,500,000 black people aborted strategically and on purpose. Planned Parenthood was set up and placed in minority communities to kill black people.
Wow. That is Kanye West, and that is truth to power. No, that was not LifeSite News. That was not the annual March for Life, of which the evangelicals and the Right to Life Catholics have been consistently out there for years saying this, calling out Margaret Sanger, calling out the eugenicist, calling out that whole mess, and that's Kanye West speaking truth to power. If you want to know why they're in a meltdown, the old parlor tricks are not working. And particularly they had an article the other day, announced the other day, about black males supporting the Biden ticket. And there are two elements to this. One is the Kanye West, the truth to power about the black genocide. Might want to also add, this is the way the apparatus rolls. In China, I think they say anywhere from 100 million to 400 million hungry ghosts, the aborted babies, right? Principally young girls by the Chinese Communist Party, right? These are the hungry ghosts that are coming back and going to wreak vengeance on the apparatus. It's Kanye West. He's no right-winger. Kanye West, I don't think he's a registered Republican. Kanye West, I don't think he's been at the March to Life or an evangelical. Kanye, truth to power, 22.5 million murdered black babies, right? The old parlor tricks of the left are not working. You're having people actually say, hey, I got to question this for a second. Also, you've got Ice Cubes on all these urban radio stations preaching economic nationalism, access to capital, jobs. Why have they been misled with all these programs that none of them worked, and now you don't have any participation in the high tech economy, right? And you're competing against, unlimited illegal alien labor. That is the people that pay the price for that, the black working class and the Hispanic working class. This is why the on Morning Joe Day they're melting down about the Hispanic numbers. People are not stupid. What's happened is that you've had an information war where you've had a great firewall around the minority community. And now, because of social media and programs like this and others, people can see it. Kanye West right there is preaching the Right to Life March. I've heard that from these little humble, the Catholics with the rosaries and the evangelicals. I've heard that for 15 years. They're put in minority communities, right? The Sanger and these people were eugenicists, right? But they still in New York. Is Sanger's name still in the building down in? It's down in Little Italy?
That was removed this year.
Sanger's name is off the building. That
2020.
That abortion clinic's right near Old St. Patrick's, I think. Right close to it.
No, Little Italy is downtown. St. Patrick's Cathedral is a little midtown.
Okay, brother, I'm about to give you. I said Old St. Patrick's.
Oh.
Write this down, dude. You're not New York at all. Staten Island. That's what happens when you're from Staten Island. Old St. Patrick's, brother. Don't be pulling that stuff with me. You guys, I'm a New York City guy. No, Old St. Patrick's. I think the Sanger building's down pretty close to that. It's south of Soho. That's Houston Street for you over at Staten Island.
Houston, if you're me.
Houston,
I remember the first time I went there. I was like,
Mulberry Street. You're right. Yeah.
Repeat that. Hold on. Repeat that again.
You're right, Steve.
Vish. You're the New York Republican Club guy. This has got to be. Let's call him
front page news. Let's
call it. Yeah,
weekly newsletter.
Vish, you walked.
I'm waiting for the Madeline Pelt tweet.
Yeah, no. This is the Staten Island. No, but it's very serious, and I think Kanye West shocked people by saying that. Cube is shocking people by saying the same thing. What's the story of this economic nationalism? Where's the capital? Where's access to capital? Where's money for entrepreneurs? Pretty basic, fundamental questions. And this is why they're in meltdown. This morning on Morning Joe, they couldn't even get to the president's too much of the North Carolina. The reason is the polling. They made a play and backed it in the Morning Joe crowd and all MSNBC. They backed the play of the Democratic convention, and I warned them on the Maria Bartiromo show when they come and said, hey, if you're just going to come in with Orange Man bad, it's not going to work. You got to get to your policy, but your policies will expose you. Your policies will expose you. Raheem, we got about a minute here. We're going to get back. We got so much to go. We got China. We got all these films that are playing, the beatdown on Pompeo and Navarro. Where is your reporting going to take us over the next couple of days? So we got to get all of this out there. People got to start to embrace these concepts, like when we started pandemic with gain of function and all that. A whole different terminology.
There is so much in the detail here, and we're going to be pulling out all of those details on the National Pulse's individual stories as well. It's just extraordinary the level to which there is a cover effort now for these organizations, these task force organizations, these integrity project organizations, to make it look like they're non-partisan. I'll give you a little teaser of what we've got coming up today. Rosa Brooks is the lady who runs the Transition Integrity Project, is quoted all across the mainstream media as this non-partisan organization leader. Some call it non, some call it a bipartisan, whatever. Well, we've got Rosa Brooks' donations this election cycle. And let me tell you something, there's no bipartisan about it. We've also got Rosa Brooks' emails to John Podesta and Jake Sullivan. From WikiLeaks, from 2016. Thank you very much.
It's all interconnected. Okay, we're going to take a short commercial break. We're going to be back. And Jack, you got something here?
I just dig down. I'm reading a New Yorker article from 1930 where they're criticizing Margaret Sanger as being a former Bolshevist and communist before she got... This is 1930. I'll post it on my thing. She's a bad egg, people.
I told Jack that New Yorker subscription was going to go a long way. Okay, you heard it on War Room. This is the fever. When they talk about the fever swamp, you're in the fever swamp. We're going to come back with a new episode in just a moment. Continue on the fight for 20.
The hottest new razor is taking the men's grooming world by storm. And if you don't have it, you need it. Micro Touch Solo, the hyper-advanced full-body razor that trims, shapes, edges, and even shaves with micro precision. And it's totally safe to the touch. Go solo for full body control with one tool. No nicks, bumps, or ingrown hairs. Edge beards and goatees with one touch. Clean your neck, barber shop perfect. And check this out. Snap on the guide to tame growth and perfectly shape your full beard. And keep new growth stubble trimmed exactly to your style. And look, the Solo Full Body Groomer trims precisely the length of hair you want. Snap off the guide and remove unwanted hair anywhere in seconds. What makes Solo different than your ordinary razor? Dual-sided German stainless steel blade. Shave up or down at 200 microstrokes per second. The Ultra Flex pivoting head contours perfectly to you for precise results. 3 custom grooming guides for control of exact length and shape. And a built-in LED light so you never miss a spot. Solo is so precise, you need no creams, no soaps, and no water. Ditch the old man clippers and toss the scissors. You've got to go solo.
Call 1-800-709-9777
Or go online at microtouchsolo.com and get yours now for only $19.99. Complete with German stainless steel blade, pivoting head, built-in spotlight, and 3 custom grooming guides. Everything you see here for just $19.99. The all-new MicroTouch Solo Full Body Groomer. The one tool that does it all.